A brasstax presentation. Discretion advised.
What's going on, people? It's your boy. It's brasstax, baby. You already know. I'm back with that quarantine content. How you guys holding up, seriously? Because, I can imagine it must be pretty frustrating being on lockdown. You see, for me, it's easy because most of my work, I was working from home anyway, right? So for me to be at home is not a big problem, but it's very different when someone tells you you've got to stay at home. Because then you want to go out just to be rebellious. And that's exactly what I did. You see, I had to go out because it's come to a point where I'm eating so much garbage at home, so much shit, that I'm like, listen, I need to do something. So I'm gonna go out for a run. I mean, it's locked down here, but they said you can go out for a walk or whatnot. So I'm gonna go for a run and try and burn some of this bullshit off. Here's me thinking I'm not gonna bump into anyone because, just go on a run, put my beats on, just chill out. Guess what? Apparently, everyone wants to go for a run. I must have bumped into 30 people today. And I know some of you subscribers do this because I've been doing this lately. Whenever you're out and about, walking around, doing some last minute shopping or whatever, or even, just driving around, do you ever try and use some kind of pandemic telepathy to try and figure out who has it? Because I'll be looking at some people real judgmental like, that. This dude walking funny, he looking like he might have it. He better not come this way, there's gonna be a misunderstanding. Yeah? Like, I'd be looking at people like that. If a person walk funny, just move funny, Now, once again, I'm gonna say something that people are too scared to say, right? And I'm gonna be honest, because I can say it, because I'm multicultural. I'm a cocktail of things, so I can say it. 20 years ago, people hated black people. All racist towards black people, right? 10 years ago, it was the Muslims, the Arabs. We already know why, right? Now, everyone's like, fuck these Chinese folk. Now, people, we can't be hating a whole race because of some bullshit. I mean, they did fuck with us, but we can't be doing that shit. Even my friend, he Chinese owning the restaurant, and he's like, ain't no business, I'm like, I know. He's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, close your shit down, bro. You guys did enough. Took the shit personally. He ain't spoke to me in a couple of days. But you gotta just take it on the chin. Until we feel better, you're gonna have to take the shit. Stop eating shit that you ain't supposed to eat. He's like, I don't eat the coochie. I'm like, well, listen, you might want to start. Leave the other shit alone. It's just jokes, okay? There's gonna be people in the comment section saying this guy is toxic. Let's cancel this bitch. No, let's chill out. Let's talk about Rogue One. As far as the movie itself, it's not something which really captivated me, didn't really blow me away, but I loved the gritty look of it. I liked also that it seemed a little detached from the trilogies, but it still had that Star Wars vibe as it should. And let's be honest, the last 2 minutes of this movie where Darth Vader comes in like an absolute juggernaut is worth the asking price for this movie on any format. So I'm going to start talking about the Disney Plus version, Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision HDR, and the picture quality overall, and then I'm going to do a direct comparison from that to the physical. I should mention that I also did a review on the 3D a while back, and I'm going to leave a link for it here in case you want to check it out. I thought the 3D of this movie was very, very good indeed. Great depth, but you can see the review for yourself. You owe it to yourself to pick up the 3D version, irrespective of what I say about the 4Ks. Now, it needs to be said that going forward, even on my last Star Wars digital reviews and how I'm doing the comparisons, it needs to be said that here in the UK specifically, they have lowered the bandwidth by about 20 to 25% across the board. They've done it with our internet, they've done it with Netflix, they've done it with iTunes, and I believe they could have done it with Disney Plus, right? But just because you're lowering the bandwidth by 25%, you're not losing 25% of picture quality. So my digital reviews so far are still accurate. They're only going to look better to you if you've got a little more bandwidth to play around with. Do you see what I'm saying? That being said, Rogue One is the best looking 4K digital out of the entire Star Wars bunch. This looks fantastic. I'm pretty sure that there was a little bit more grain in the 3D version when I reviewed it, so they've definitely cleaned it up. And what you do have is a very clean, pristine 4K-age image. Many of the images are razor sharp, close-ups reveal wrinkles, crow's feet, all of the good stuff that you would expect to see on 4K. The digital also has a really nice layer of three-dimensional depth, especially in a lot of the wide shots, a lot of the battles. The added sense of immersion is very noticeable from the offset, more so than anything you would see on the 1080p, which I felt at times was a little flat. Even the detail on Darth Vader is such a step up. I mean, you're noticing some imperfections in the mask. You're noticing different textures that you just haven't seen before. You're noticing such a visual upgrade. It's so noticeable from the offset, even from the starting sequence. All the way through the movie, you'd think that there'd be some signs of it softening up, but I didn't see any of that. I saw a pretty sharp, detailed, textured image throughout. Now the HDR, the high dynamic range on the digital is very, what's the word I'm looking for? I'd probably say it's a rich, vibrant experience. I thought that the 1080p Blu-ray was a little cold, but this is very vibrant. It's still very natural looking, but it cranks up where it needs to crank up. The lightsaber is supposed to be blinding. That's exactly what it is. Some of the vistas, some of the scenery is striking. Yeah, and obviously, I've said it before, I'm gonna say it a million times. You got the color, you got the wider color with HDR, with 4K, makes for a stellar experience. But I'm gonna stop here and I'm gonna switch to the physical. It's time to get physical, baby. With a digital, the stream is around about 15 to 25 megabytes a second. The disc is 60 megabytes a second in this bitch. The girl you fancy asks you out on a date, you're like, yes please, yeah. A couple of months later, this is like, check please. That's the difference in this bitch. And the extra bit rate on the physical is very, very obvious. Where you first see it is the depth. Gosh, this disc has so much more depth than the digital version, 100%. Grooves, pores, wrinkles and textures are a little bit more pronounced, as they should be. And the detail of this movie varies from subtle to extremely noticeable from scene to scene. This 4K Blu-ray's peak HDR brightness is 4000 nits. Just like the Blade Runner sequel, and boy does it show. Even the HDR takes a step up. You want to know what the HDR is like? It's like Darth Vader from the end of Rogue One sits in a fountain of youth until Rise of the Skywalker and once again kills everyone. That's what the HDR is like. A little bit more vibrant, a little bit more detail in the colors, a little bit more noticeable colors than the digital. There have been a few people in the comment section saying that Disney Plus adopts fake HDR. I don't know what that means, because I think the HDR on the digitals looks really good, but on this disc specifically, everything just feels like a step up. Everything just pops that little bit more. Still very natural looking, but things pop where they need to pop. You're noticing a wider color gamut for sure. Details in the clothing, the set pieces, even the buildings. Everything has got more texture to the colors. You're not going to see that on a 1080p. You're going to see that on the digital for sure, but it's just more pronounced here on the actual physical disc. Now the Atmos on the digital, I've got to say, was pretty good. Especially with the X-Wings and the film's climax, you're hearing great overheads, and overall, the film's got a very wide sound stage. Clear dialogue, great bass response, but what the 4K does is it improves on that. It gives you a better mix, a less compressed mix, more detail in the subtleties. The overheads sound a bit more sharper. The bass packs a bit more of a punch. You tell your girl to set on the whoop for her and see what happens. She's gonna love the bass. The booty with that G string's gonna vibrate to the X-Wing. It's a Star Wars thing. Bars. The you hear before Darth Vader turns up. Oh my god, it feels like he's in the room with you. And if he was in the room with me, I'm not going to be in the room with him. It's a fantastic surround sound experience. It's definitely not a reference Atmos track. And I did find with this disc specifically, I didn't have to turn it up. No Atmos here. Now, if the 1080p is walking down a dark alleyway at night, he's going to bump into the 3D. The 3D is going to slap him around a bit and steal his money, right? The 3D is going about his way, bumps into the 4K. Right? The 4K will body slam him, rob him, and stomp him. The 4K thinks he's taking it easy. He's the digital version. Then he hears a little then he sees the 4K physical disc walking down the road. He's like, oh shit, who's this guy think he is? The 4K physical has a lightsaber. Switches the lightsaber off, pulls out an umbrella. Bends the 4K digital over, sticks an umbrella up his butthole and opens that bitch. Takes his money and walks off. This analogy is what I like to call the visual fidelity hierarchy. VFH in this bitch. And there we have it, people. That's my review on Rogue One. This disc obviously gets the brasstax seal of approval, baby. I hope you enjoyed the review. I know I do go on a bit, but come on, man. This is quarantine content. I mean, what else am I going to talk about? Shit. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to support the channel, I've got a PayPal me and I've got a Patreon. The links are in the description. I appreciate all of you, man. Be safe. Take care of yourselves. Look, stay in. I know it's crazy, but just do it. Hopefully, we'll be in a very different place in a couple of months. Let's see what happens. 4K Rockstar, you already know.